It's all about control. It's about that goal. And if you analyze the mindset, it is madness, but there is a method to the madness, and they are accelerating their program right now. Why are they so threatened by American patriots and dissidents? Well, I have my answer. We have a chance to beat them. I think because of your uncle and yourself and myself and Ron Paul and countless others, G. Edward Griffin, that for decades have been exposing the criminal conspiracy of the globalist, that's our ace in the hole. And because of the fact that people were ready to be arrested, ridiculed, attacked, all of that, now you see millions of guns being sold a month. They say, we don't trust the government. That's why. We see people becoming aware of this at such a level that I think there's chances that we could take this country back. So let's talk about your views on that versus, where this is going if they go ahead with their provocation to allow this country to be attacked.
Well, I do believe, Alex, that the only thing that threatens their existence is a broad-based knowledge of conspiracy about this globalist agenda. And it has to do with Agenda 21. It has to do with the Law of the Sea Treaty. All of that control agenda comes into the basis of world government and government control. And that's why the media, even the faux media, Fox News, et cetera, is so virulent against anyone like you and I who believes in conspiracy. They will not have us on national television, even to discuss it, because they don't want the genie out of the bottle. And that's our only salvation, is to make sure that a broader sector of America knows that there is a real live conspiracy to control government, to control both political parties. Anyone who thinks that we're going to gain salvation by electing another Republican is kidding themselves. It's never going to happen. It's not that it's unhelpful in the sense that if you campaign for someone like Ron Paul, who really will make a difference, but if you go after an establishment representative of the Republican Party, they will only do what George Bush did to us. And conservatives have to wake up to this. I think a lot of them did wake up after George Bush. I think if Romney gets elected, they're going to wake up when he betrays us as well. It's going to be very sad, but unfortunately, that's the reality. We have got to realize that it's only by using credible information to convince people that there is conspiracy in this world, legitimate conspiracy, that we're going to be able to win this battle. And that's what they're afraid of. That's why they have to shut down dissidents.
Exactly. I mean, everything they do is obsessed with those of us that know, but now it's not your uncle 60 years ago exposing this. They're announcing world government. They're announcing global carbon taxes. California is forcibly inoculating kids without parental consent. They're openly announcing they're going to outlaw single-parent homes. I mean, it's more and more in the open. Why do you think they've shifted to it being out in the open now? So much more.
It's to accustom people to it. They used to have a rule: you don't ever inconvenience the majority enough to make them rebel against your agenda. But they started doing it with the TSA. It's in your face. And they won't let up, no matter how much people complain, no matter how ruthless they become with the TSA. They won't let up, and that's because they want to get us used to it, and they're driving it through, and that's what I think they're doing. They're more and more confident now that we don't have the power to cut them off. And right now we don't, until we get the word out more and more. I took a lot of flack in my book, Strategic Relocation, because I do discuss and give evidence of conspiracy. I don't make it the major portion of it, but I do take some flack. I have people who have dismissed my book because I believe in it. But as one person said on the Jim Rawls Survival Blog website, that's a reason to believe in it, because he sees what's going on.
Well, Joel, let me stop you right there. I have to be careful here, because I'm told things in confidence, and if I give up confidences, then I don't get the information. But I, 3 separate times, have had offers from national media in the last 12 years, and they admit global government's real. They say it's best for all humanity. Stop talking about it, and we'll make you this big star. I was offered Glenn Beck's job before it existed. Once I saw him, I knew that that was what was happening. And now I know from inside sources, he refused to fully sell out, kind of woke up, so they kicked him out. I talked to another national media figure yesterday, and he said, well, he said more than, oh my gosh. He said, it's all true. I can't say it over the phone, but I was taken in, like I'd heard you years ago say this, Alex. I didn't fully believe it. I was told the same stuff you were told. And this person is a contemporary, probably even bigger than I am in some ways. If I said the name, everybody would know it. But it's like you don't know it's real until they call up and threaten to cut your wife's head off to her and say, by the way, I'm watching you. Your dog's on the back porch right now wanting in. You know, you don't know how, and in a way it's a blessing that I have so early on had it hit me full on, because let me just tell viewers out there, this is real. I mean, the conspiracy is real. And my point was, you've got to feel good in a way, Joel, that, you know, you get criticized for talking about globalist conspiracy. Well, now it's out in the open, but still some people laugh at us. And I'm just telling them, look, this is real. This is like denying the Atlantic Ocean exists. You see my point?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's pretty difficult, you know, and we're dealing with even false conspiracies that throw out there. There's this guy Drake now explaining or trying to make the case that the military is about ready to arrest all of the globalists, the whole cabal, and it's absolutely bogus.
We always hear this every year, decade after decade. The white knights are coming. Everything's okay.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. We're going to have to face this head on with good hard work, with helping people understand what's real, and getting people person by person to change their opinions and get ready to accept nothing but people and elect people who will not compromise with this establishment. And that's why, with all of the faults that people may criticize Ron Paul with, one thing I assure them, I said, he's the only one who we can trust to buck the establishment and stop their agenda.
Well, I know Senator Rand Paul, you know, personally and privately over the years a little bit. And he's done a good job up there, but in a way, he's not as pig-headed as his dad, because I had him on yesterday, and he said, well, if Mitt Romney did ask me, I have to say it is an honor. And I'm not even saying he's bad leaving the door open, but in a way, I just think the pig-headedness for basic issues is the only thing, because you can't make deals with the system. And I'm not saying Rand was even saying that, but because he's a nice guy, it's almost like being too nice. I'm not even sure what I'm saying. My point is, this open world government conspiracy is now open. I mean, do you see what I'm saying?
Well, it isn't openly admitted as a conspiracy. It's openly talked about. They're trying to convince people. No one's admitting openly that they have a deep, dark agenda, and that's our point. This is an evil agenda. They may try to sell it for its benefits. They may sell it in the name of free trade, but this is an evil agenda that is aimed at our freedoms and our liberty and our persons if we dissent against it.
I think you just really crystallized things for me. That's it. Before, they wouldn't even admit that there was a move to global government.
Yes.
And a global tax and all this. And so now they admit that, but say, oh, but it's good.
Right.
Okay, Joel, we've talked about the lay of the land right now geopolitically. The world government's real. The elites are preparing. We've put together some graphics from your amazing book that we're going to be showing here chapter by chapter. So basically, it's a high-tech slideshow. You've got the floor in the next 40 minutes or so. Give us a brief synopsis of the book that really is the Bible for finding safe regions, safe areas, you know, not just the prepping supplies themselves, but the general lay of the land. Joel, lead us through the book.
Well, the first thing I do is start out and talk about, this is a new section added in the third edition about international retreating. There's a lot of the powers that be are moving overseas. I don't think they're actually leaving all of their assets behind in the United States, but there's a lot of people in our liberty movement that are thinking about moving overseas or have done so. And I talk about that extensively as a new section in the book. But I might just give a few caveats here that are important to keep in mind. First of all, you cannot judge international retreats, and I have lived overseas in many of these nations, so I speak from firsthand experience, by the expat community. These are the expatriates who are reveling and being able to live cheaply and without anyone bothering them in other countries. There are no guarantees in a lot of these other countries. And things will be totally different vis-a-vis Americans, foreigners living in other countries than they are right now when those countries want American dollars and are welcoming you there. I can tell you that these other countries even though our country has the leadership of the globalists, these other countries are lapdogs to those globalists, and they tell them to round up Americans and they'll round them up. That's what you don't realize about other countries. And it's very difficult to hide and blend in, which is your only defense sometimes when you're trying to hide in foreign countries where you don't match the culture or the language or the race. And so my advice to people who are thinking about moving overseas is to read that section carefully, consider the pros and cons, and last of all, don't burn all your bridges coming back to the United States. And it may well be very, very difficult. One of the reasons I also talk about my world affairs briefing is since I track this, and I'm tracking constantly what the powers that be are doing vis-a-vis this future war that's coming, I intend my world affairs brief to also act as a early warning mechanism to people so that they won't be stuck in one place or another where they don't want to be. Going back to the book Strategic Relocation, I take the point early on in the book after I cover the various threats, and I do cover the full range of threats in general, whether it's population density, cost of living, taxation, government regulation, alternate medicine, freedom to practice in various states, gun liberty, homeschooling laws. I cover the military threats, the military targets, the nuclear power plants and their locations, environmental threats, health ratings, water, traffic problems. In fact, when you go to the individual states in the book, I give a rating to the states of 1 to 5 stars, and I give a breakdown, a synopsis of these first sections on the threats. I give a synopsis just in one tiny paragraph for each one of these: climate, population density, private land availability, so that you've got at your fingertips a way to compare, to put your finger on one page, one state page versus another. You can flip back and forth. You can look at the maps, which are now in color, showing all of the land use within a state, showing all the nuclear targets. It also shows the nuclear targets in adjacent states, which helps you make decisions if you're going to move to a place near the border of one state to another. There's a wealth of information about threats in this book, but it's not so easy to analyze the relative worth of one threat versus another. In other words, all these threats are not equal. Some threats are deadly, some threats are inconvenient, some threats are just how you prefer to live. So I try to cover those extensively in the book.
Joel, let me interject before you continue, because you brought up, which countries are safer than others to move to if you do choose to exit the U.S. Capital controls. Now if you have a few silver coins, they're trying to take them, the TSA is. Now they're at highway checkpoints, spy groups. All of this is happening. And Joel, now I'm sure you've seen the legislation. It's passed the Senate, it's in the House, to where if you, quote, haven't paid your taxes, no judge, no jury, the IRS just puts you on a list, and then suddenly you can't leave the country and have your passport taken.